One of the most frequently asked questions I get about credit cards is how many credit cards should I have? Now that answer is going to differ from person to person, but in this video, I'll help you decide how many credit cards you should have depending on where you're at in your credit card journey. To start this video off though, we need to debunk one of the biggest credit card myths out there. That being that if you have a ton of different credit cards, then you probably have a really low credit score. And that's just simply not true as long as you use your credit cards responsibly. To understand why this is the case, we need to understand what goes into making up your credit score. There are 5 different categories that make up your credit score. The first of which being on-time payment history, which makes up 35% of your score. The second being credit utilization, which makes up 30%. Then you have the length of credit history making up 15%, your new credit making up 10%, and your credit mix making up another 10%. So whenever you apply for a new credit card, what factors of these are affected? Let's first talk about the negative ways that a new credit score account impacts your credit score. And of course, the first way that it negatively affects your credit score is that it's going to lower the average age of accounts on your credit report. But considering that only makes up 15% of your credit score, this is not going to have a huge implication on how high or how low your credit score is. But I've seen plenty of people in the personal finance niche on YouTube who have 20, 30, or even 40 credit cards, but still over an 800 credit score. And assuming that they're constantly applying for new cards to have that many in their wallet, you would imagine that their average age of accounts is going to be pretty low. Even if they've been getting credit cards for 20 years, their average age might only be 4 to 5 years. But obviously, since this is making up such a little part of your credit score, it doesn't actually hurt it that much in the long run. On top of that, that small 10% category of your new credit accounts is going to be hit by getting a new credit card. But in reality, this only very minimally affects your credit score and will drop it by like 5 to 10 points very temporarily. Because as you'll see later, there are a lot of positive ways that getting a new credit card will help your credit score. So after about a month or two of using this new card, theoretically your score is going to be a lot higher than it was when you first got it. But now let's talk about how getting a new credit card could actually positively affect your credit score. The first way that's a little bit harder to picture is that you now have more opportunities to make on-time payments with a new credit card. So theoretically, that 35% of your credit score that's made up of on-time payment history could actually be positively affected as long as you use your credit cards responsibly and pay them off on time and in full every single month. So more cards on your account, more opportunities to make on-time payments. And on top of that, probably the biggest way that your credit score is positively affected is with your credit utilization. And that's positively affected because whenever you add a new credit card to your portfolio, technically you're now going to have a higher credit limit, overall credit limit, than you did before. So now that you have a higher overall credit limit, as long as you don't increase your spending because you got a new credit card, your credit utilization in total is going to drop. And obviously, the lower the credit utilization, the better for your credit score. But to give you a quick example of what I mean, let's say that you have 2 credit cards currently that each have a $5,000 credit limit, and on those 2 cards you spend $5,000 a month in total. So if you spend $5,000 a month with a $10,000 overall credit limit, that's going to be a 50% credit utilization, which is obviously not great. But now let's say that you add a third card that's a little bit higher tier and now gives you a $10,000 credit limit on top of your original overall credit limit. And at the same time, you do not increase your expenses because you have this new credit card. Then now you have an overall credit limit of $20,000 with expenses of only $5,000, which will bring your credit utilization down to 25% automatically just by adding that new credit card. Obviously, we want our credit utilization to be a lot lower than this, under 10% ideally, and I try to keep mine at about 1 to 2%, but you get the point of the example. So when it comes to credit utilization, the more credit cards you have, the higher the overall credit limit you have on all of your accounts, which equals lower utilization, and that means higher credit scores. And on top of that, your credit mix is also going to be increased a little bit because they actually want to see more accounts on your credit report than less. That's actually kind of contrary to popular belief because most people think that the more credit accounts you have open, the lower your credit score is going to be. But like I said, if you're financially responsible with these cards, then they like to see that you have a ton of different accounts that you can actually pay off every single month. So don't go scramble out trying to get more home loans or car loans or anything like that, but just realize that the more credit cards you add, it's actually not a bad thing in that category. It's a positive thing. So now that we have that base understanding of how our credit score is calculated, I believe that there are 4 main stages that you might be in your credit card journey that will impact how many credit cards you should probably have. And to make things a little bit more fun today, we're going to theme this with a Star Wars theme throughout the rest of the video. So those 4 stages are going to be the Youngling stage, the Padawan stage, the Jedi stage, and the Sith Master stage. And obviously that's a little odd that I did that last choice there, but you'll see why after watching the rest of this video. So let's start with stage 1, which is the Youngling stage, which is arguably the most important part of your credit journey. Generally, when you're brand new to credit cards, it's super important that you don't get ahead of yourself and only have one credit card that you use to learn everything you can about them. So in this stage, I would recommend that you get your first credit card, but be smart with it and probably get a secured credit card like the Discover It secured card. Coming from using strictly cash or debit cards to make all of your purchases is a big step up when you come into the credit card world, mainly because this is a big step up in responsibility and requires you to have more financial literacy than you did before. So in this stage, you're going to have 1 to 2 credit cards that you get over the course of 12 to 18 months to learn everything you can about them and how to use them responsibly. Also, please make sure that these first 1 to 2 credit cards you get do not have any annual fees on them because you're going to want to leave these cards open forever and you don't want to be paying an annual fee for the rest of your life. But the number 1 rule that I have for people if you're trying to build your financial literacy, especially with credit cards, cards is to use your credit card like you would a debit card. Never buy something on a credit card that you don't already have the money in your bank account for, because that's how you get stuck in a debt spiral that you don't want to be in. And although credit cards do come with high credit limits that technically allow you to spend that amount of money on those cards for free, you're going to be on the hook for those purchases at the end of every single month, and if you don't pay them off, you're going to be paying some pretty insane interest on them. Even if you just pay the minimum balance off on your credit cards, you're going to be paying interest, so keep that in mind. The only way to not pay any interest on your credit cards is to pay off at least the statement balance every single month. If you don't do this, you're going to be stuck paying these 15 to 25% interest rates that come on these cards. As you can see, if you do get stuck in this spiral, it's a horrible place to be in, and I feel bad for anybody that is in those situations. But what I'm trying to preach on this channel is to always use smart financial habits to help not get yourself in these situations in the first place. So now that we understand this Youngling stage, which is you just getting started with credit cards, in order to graduate up to the Padawan stage, you're going to need to follow these 4 steps. First, you're going to want to understand the difference between debit and credit cards and how a credit card functions. Then you're going to want to apply for your first credit card, most likely a secured or a student credit card. Then use this one card for 12 months or so to really understand how it works, like how every single charge and every single payment will affect your credit score. And then fourth, you can get your second credit card, which will not be a secured card at that point, so you can start to earn some elevated rewards once you already understand how your credit cards work. And then you're going to move up to stage 2, which is the Padawan stage. At this point, you're going to have a good understanding of how credit cards work and have at least a year's worth of experience hands-on with your credit cards. You also haven't missed any payments, and you've kept your credit utilization really low in order to increase your credit score, hopefully above the 700 range. And if that's the case, your next choice for a credit card is going to be pretty wide open. Considering you only have 1 to 2 cards at this point, I imagine that those cards are not earning you a ton of value on your everyday spend, so this is the stage where you get to more optimize your base foundation of credit cards so that every one of your highest spend categories is covered pretty well. Also, at this point, we're still focusing on no annual fee cards for the most part, that being because we want to keep that average age of accounts really high by never having to cancel our oldest credit cards. So as long as your first few credit cards have no annual fees and you can leave them open forever, then your average age of accounts is going to be longer than if that was not the case. One setup that I think is pretty perfect to build out in this stage is going to be the Chase Trifecta setup. The reason I speak so highly of this setup on my channel is because these 3 cards allow you to accumulate a ton of Chase points in a bunch of different earning categories, and to me, Chase points are the most valuable points in the entire credit card game because of their flexibility as well as the value you can get from them down the line. Now, if you know what the Chase Trifecta is, you will know that the Chase Sapphire Preferred does come with a $95 annual fee, which kind of goes against what I was saying earlier. But once you're ready to get the Chase Sapphire Preferred, you would have presumably already gotten the Chase Freedom Flex and the Chase Freedom Unlimited, which both come with no annual fees. Plus, you'll have your 1 to 2 other starter cards that you got previously. So at this stage, I think it's about time to graduate up to at least 1 mid-tier travel card that can help you get a ton of value from all of your points. But now that you have these 5 or so credit cards at this stage, I think most people would actually be set here for life. And by most people, I mean people that aren't necessarily big credit card consumers like we are here on this channel, but just a normal everyday spender that needs a few of their highest spend categories covered while earning really flexible points that can be redeemed at 1 cent per point for cash back or 2+ cents per point with travel partners with the Chase Sapphire Preferred down the line. So really at this stage, I think you should be focused on building out a setup that gets you at least 3x back on all of your highest spend categories. And it doesn't have to be with Chase in particular, but to me, their points are the easiest to understand and easiest to get value of out of all the other lenders out there. So once you're pretty comfortable with the cards that you have and you've built this nice core setup of credit cards that you'll never have to really cancel, you may be getting some pretty good value at this stage, but what if you actually want more? To graduate to the next stage, which is the Jedi stage, make sure you follow these steps first. First, at the beginning of this stage, you're going to hopefully have planned out the next 2 to 3 credit cards you're going to get based on the redemption methods you like to use, the points you want to accumulate, and all of the earning categories that you need help in with your everyday spend. Then you're going to go ahead and get those 2 to 3 credit cards with the lender of your choice to help increase your earning potential. And before you move up to the third stage, you're going to want to understand the points that you've been earning and how you can actually redeem them for the most value. Now you're ready to move on to stage 3, which is the Jedi stage. The Jedi stage is for those who have those 5 or so credit cards that they really like, but they actually really love the credit card game and want to start to optimize their setup even more. This is currently the camp that I fall in because I have about 6 credit cards, but I would say that those in this stage have anywhere from 6 to 10 credit cards. Not only have you most likely gotten 1 to 2 credit cards with annual fees like the Chase Sapphire Preferred and the Amex Gold card at this point, but now you're really looking to add cards for your specific use cases. For example, maybe you have dining, groceries, and travel covered on your credit cards right now, but you don't have any card that earns you elevated rewards in the gas category. This is the stage that you may add in a card like the City Custom Cash to help get you 5x in that category of your choice. On top of that, maybe you've already redeemed your points for a few trips or some cash back, but you're wanting to really start traveling in style with stuff like hotel status, airline status, airport lounge access, and more. And I think that this stage in your credit card journey is where you'll add in your first luxury travel credit card. Examples of those cards being the Venture X, the Hilton Aspire card, the Amex Platinum, Chase Sapphire Reserve, because with these cards, you can start to get some serious value, not from their earning categories necessarily, but from all the credits and benefits that these cards give you. However, even though you may see that the Amex Platinum card will give you $1,500 plus worth of credits with the card, don't get caught up in the glitz and glam of what these cards cards promise you, because they might not actually fit your spending habits very well. So in this stage, I would say that you've really built out your credit card setup to add 3 to 5 more that you actually could get value from every single day. Just remember that at this stage, you're probably applying for a bunch of annual fee credit cards, and you want to be cognizant of the fact that you don't want to have to be paying these annual fees every single year if you don't get value from these cards especially. So let me preach again that don't just get these luxury travel credit cards or these high annual fee cards without doing the calculations and making sure these cards make sense for you. But now you're ready to graduate up to the final stage of your credit card journey once you do these 3 steps. Within this stage, you've added in 3 to 5 credit cards to help optimize your spend and give you the credits and benefits that you like. You've also redeemed your points for a few big trips or large cash outs, and then you realize you want to start traveling more in style, so you added one of your favorite luxury travel credit cards. Once you've done all of those things, you've now stepped into stage 4 of the credit card journey, which is the Sith master stage. To me, once you've gotten up into the double-digit amount of credit cards, you've definitely gotten all the cards that a normal person would actually need and use. At this point, you're just all in it for the game, and you've stepped into the dark side of credit card mastery. This is the stage where you're likely applying for all of your cards strictly for the welcome bonuses because you want to get optimum value from your credit card spend. And if you're honest with yourself, you've probably applied for a few credit cards that you don't even want, but you just really wanted the points and you don't even know what you're going to do with them. Obviously, I should point out that the only way that you could ever even get to this credit card stage is if you use your credit cards responsibly and pay off all of your balances in full every single month. Plus, you're not overspending on these cards or anything like that, and I just don't want you to lose sight of that over your credit card journey. I mean, to be fair, if you did lose sight of that, then you'd probably be getting denied for all these higher tier credit cards anyways, because your credit score probably wouldn't be very high if you weren't responsible with your cards, so I guess we don't even really need to worry about that. But this tier is reserved for all you guys in my comment sections like Sledge, Jay, Danny, and Stan the Credit Frog, because we both know at this point you don't need any more credit cards. But you love the game and you can't help yourself but get these points for all the cash that you're spending. In fairness, I can't wait to be at this stage of my credit card journey, but at this stage I'm still trying to build out my core credit card setup so that at some point I won't have to worry about those annoying rules like the Chase 524 rule, and I can just apply for cards because of the welcome bonuses that come on them. I can only imagine the stories that people in this tier have when it comes to traveling in luxury and making your family super happy, all because you use your credit cards responsibly and use those points in order to benefit you and others. But if you're like me and you're still building out that credit card setup, then you're probably going to want to watch this video next, where I talk about how to plan out the next credit card you're going to get to optimize your spend. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, me and Odin both want to say thank you for doing so. And if you enjoyed, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel down below as we continue to grow this community. With all that being said, we'll catch you guys next time.